tell everybody about ag gag bills. Are they still an issue currently, and are you seeing them in and around the fishing industry as well?
Okay, so ag gag bills, I'll explain what they are. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about them, but I'll tell you what I know. Ag gag bills are bills that are popping up in certain states that are becoming law that basically are a reaction to all the undercover investigations that have been going on in farmed animal, both uh, uh, like the dairy industry, the egg industry, slaughterhouses, all of those industries where a activist goes in and films, like works for a few weeks, films what's going on, and they always come out with horrifying video of what's going on in there. And because this has been so successful and could arguably be one of the, handful of tools that has gotten us to the point of just a mass increase in vegan products and interest in veganism, the industry is responding. And they want to close those doors. They don't want people to know what's going on in these industries. So they are creating these laws that make it a criminal act to videotape or photograph what they're doing. And so that's what the ag gag laws are. And, it's so just, and yes, they are more, to answer your question, it's definitely still going on. They're still fighting. There are wonderful animal protection lawyers that go in and try and stop these things from happening. Sometimes they get passed in states, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we fight it and they, don't. So it's this ongoing battle state by state. And what's so interesting to me is that if there's an industry that has to make criminal just seeing what they're doing, just going in and looking at what they're doing, if they have to make that criminal, how on earth can we think that anything right is going on, that anything proper or acceptable is going on in there, right? I mean, what do they have to hide? My God, that they would have to make it illegal to take a picture. I mean, it's unfathomable to me that that they're able to do that they're like, yeah, sure, you shouldn't have to let pictures be taken. But yeah, this is what's going on. This is how they're so protected through government, to do what they do. And it doesn't really apply to the fishing industry at this time. It's land mammals and avians, the chickens that we're talking about here. But yeah, ag gag laws. It's kind of interesting because it's a reaction to our very successful campaigns of undercover investigation. So it's really, they're backed into a corner and kind of, this is a last gasp, like they're fighting us. So that's good in a way that we, are able to have that much influence. But we're going to see more and more of this. We're going to see these reactions for them trying to save their dying industry, basically, save this industry that is dying and should die. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Looks like we have a question coming in from Mike. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Ben. And thank you very much for this discussion. I think intuitively, most of us understand like crabs and lobsters have, they at least fear things because you can see them snap at you and that kind of thing. But fish, all they kind of do is swim away from you. So we don't really ever think about their pain or suffering and things like that. So thank you very much for that. And on that subject, there's been any studies on like turtles and other things and their pain and suffering thresholds? Maybe not thresholds the right way, but similar to what you did with the fish, they kind of studied it and found out those things. Is there other studies that maybe went as far as turtles and crabs and lobsters and that kind of thing?
Yes, and turtles, by the way, are in the same realm really as mammals. I mean, they have a very complex system, just like mammals. So turtles, you can kind of equate with any mammal, really. But then we get into areas like crustaceans, the lobsters and crabs, and even shellfish, oysters, that kind of thing, right? And, there's varying degrees of ways that their little bodies are similar to ours. And this is being studied. Like, to answer your question, yes, science is looking into all of this now. There's not as much data as there is with fish, but it is starting to come in. And there's I actually do have a write-up on this, and I wish I had it ready to whip out so I could break it down, because they're different scientific bodies and zoonotic descriptions of the different entities and kind of where they are with the studies. And I wish I had printed it out and had it with me, the notes. I don't, but I'll try to remember a little bit. And basically, so for instance, clams don't necessarily have the same similar physiological systems that we do, that fish do, but they have similar things, like they do have the same kind of nervous systems. They have the clams have a little foot that they can take out, and they can kind of walk and move around on this little foot. They are sensitive to light, even though they don't have eyes. They can detect when there's light and dark, like they know when they're in the shade or in a certain, So even though it's not as complex as a fish, they definitely have similar systems and senses. So there's something going on there. There's something going on there beyond plants. And I think that's really the point. Where is that line of sentience? Where is that line of consciousness? We're exploring that. We don't really know. But what I would say is, for me, I want to err on the side of caution. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not just a plant. We know that they're not just a plant. There's something more complex going on in a clam, something more complex going on certainly in a crab. So even though they might not have the same thing going on, they definitely have movement. They have reaction. They have to stimuli. There's behavioral issues, behavioral reactions. So I like to give them the benefit of the doubt and exclude them from food, from exploiting them, from killing them, from harvesting them, from killing them and eating them, because I feel that there's something more going on. They're more than plants, and so I feel that it's important to exclude them from harm.
Thank you so much for that. And let's go to Dominique. Welcome, Dominique.
Hi, Hope. Thank you for this talk. Very interesting. So I was wondering, because of course, people always find really good reasons against, arguments, and it's really tiresome. So I was wondering, because I think it's preposterous, but people say, well, plants have feelings too. How do you respond to that?
Yes, we're seeing this one a lot now. This is certainly the go-to kind of gotcha question for the vegans, and from a non-vegan. We see this all the time now. So there's numerous different angles, and I determine what I'm going to say by how much time I have for the person, right? If it's a quick interaction, I don't have a lot of time. What I'll say is something to the effect of, would you rather mow your lawn or kick a dog? There's a huge difference. We know it. We know it intuitively, that animals feel pain. We should not cause harm to animals, and plants are for harvesting and eating. That's, bottom line. So I think that's kind of a quick and easy way to look at it and answer it. if you're in a conversation and there's more time and you're getting into it, then there's more that can be said. And what I would say is, this is often what I'll say is, thank you so much for really caring about plants. Because obviously, a lot of time it's not really that they actually care about plants. They're just trying to catch you in a gotcha moment. But there may be some out there, more spiritual people possibly, that do really believe that plants feel pain. I totally understand that. I get that. That's good. Let's think about these things. Let's explore it. Okay. So what I would say is, thank you so much for caring about plants and being concerned if plants have feelings. That's really important. We should look at everything and make sure that we're not causing violence. Absolutely. So let's say plants do feel pain. All right. We have to eat something, right? We've got to eat something. And basically what you're saying is, well, let's just throw our hands up and eat everything because plants feel pain too, right? But let's consider that if plants do feel pain, when you're eating a plant-based diet, you're actually causing less suffering then because you're eating less everything, because animals eat plants, right? So there's all the plants that the animals ate, and then you're eating that animal. So you're causing all of that suffering. But if you're just eating plants, quantity-wise, you're causing less suffering. So if you really do care about plants, then you should eat vegan. So, that's an interesting way to go about it. But something that I've come up with that seems to work. I don't know. But it's a tough one because it's really mostly it's a gotcha question. Like they're just trying to kind of get you. So really, I would assess whether you even want to have that conversation with the person. If it's a troll online that's just trying to get you, ignore it. You don't have to respond to that, But if it's someone that's sincerely asking, then maybe you go one of the routes that I suggest.